therefore many presences who believe themselves to be listening to higher voices are in fact listening to dark voices. And unless the presences put in the effort and learn the skills and employ the skills to continually or repeatedly clean out the channels and try again, they're not listening up even when they think they are.
That was the next thing I saw on the checklist, something about presences who aren't divine presences, who are calling themselves divine presences.
Right. And they're pointing to another YouTube question where there was a question about something like, do you believe in one God? Something
That's
like
the question.
that.
That's right.
And then when we, so we'll just look up right now and we'll just do this demonstration for this room of people. Now watch this. Watch what happens when we call up saying, I'm trying to reach one God, the one true God. Would you like to describe what you notice?
Yeah, I think if you weren't a little bit braced to see it, it would be really scary, because it's not just like there are a few hands, it's like there are so many hands it would take me a very long time to count them all, and like they're pushing their way through each other's bodies and through walls, and they're all waving, and some of the hands have big claws.
They look like mobsters at best.
Mobsters at best. The nicest looking ones have suits and look like gangsters.
Right. Some of them look just straight up monster.
Yeah.
They're not well-intentioned presences. No. Or the ones that push themselves to the front are not well-intentioned presences. And there are some quiet ones in the back, but they look sad and
hopeless,
kind of? Maybe hopeless. But the point is that if you ask that question, you'll get an enormous number of people who say that yes, they are the one God.
That's true.
Which would kind of be problematic.
Yeah.
So obviously none of them are the one God, because they're all answering the question, yes, I, quote unquote, yes, I am the one God, close quote.
Yeah.
So in our experience, that isn't how things work.
No.
And the point is for the arrivals, the new arrivals into that room.
That's the point.
That this is a reality that impacts life on Ground Zero planet Earth. They're having to write it in on their checklist.
I see that like in the margins.
Yes. They're adjusting, so we'll just be quiet and let them make the adjustment to their checklist. Showing it to each other, making more tweaks.
Yeah.
And now they're crossing out some other things on the list.
Like the whole bottom third of the page.
It's like, well, this is irrelevant.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah. All right, well, is that enough? That's a flavor of what's going on there. And there's somebody saying, no, you need to include the bit about how there's so many undead who don't know they're dead.
That's true.
Aren't killable because they're already dead.
That's right. They're not in the body.
They're not in the body that they were assigned to.
That's
and
right.
It's a real problem. And how does one help them go up, transition, head for the light, find divinity? How do we do that? That's not on their checklist.
No, I don't feel that on the checklist.
No, it's not there. Are you guys going to put it on the checklist, because that's an important part of the reality?
That's right.
They're not going to?
No, I don't think so.
All right, well, if we set that aside and say, pretending that that doesn't exist and that there aren't billions upon billions of undead, which there actually are, but even so, somebody else says, I'm not playing this game.
That's what I hear.
And acknowledge reality or don't acknowledge reality, but I'm not playing this silly game. of planning for a nonsense quest.
That's what he said, planning for a nonsense quest.
I think that's a raw, the way, the posture, the hands.
Exactly.
And his very patient demeanor is, I'll wait. I'll wait.
You know what it feels like? Is it's just like, well, that's that room full of presences' chance to do the right thing or do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And
next.
yeah.
And it's like a lazy Susan.
That's
like
what
a
it looks like.
Turnstile. And now we have another room, empty room. Angels and Godly Presences responsible for planet Earth, and it's kind of like over the door.
I see that also.
Yeah, through this portal walk the Angels and Godly Presences responsible for planet Earth. And there are the same meet and greet kind of feelings happening.
Conference center tone.
Mm-hmm. Over here there's kind of like an observer who says, so we can see that there are even kind of like auditioning groups
Yes, I
of
hear.
Angels and Godly Presences who are almost auditioning for the chance to be responsible for Ground Zero Planet Earth. And it's like a
Yes.
contract.
Yeah.
And they want whatever's in it for them for accepting the contract.
Yeah.
Which is fine. If they do work, they should be compensated. If they do a good job, they should be compensated.
That's
I would
totally fine.
hope they're paid on results and not on, I don't know. Like somebody else says, well, what about all the time that has to go into it before you achieve results? Isn't that also worthy of compensation? I'm glad I'm not the one who has to make those decisions.
Yeah, that's how I feel also.
Thank you so much for somebody stepping up to make the decisions of resource allocation. We would find that overwhelming and heartbreaking and frightening, and thank you for doing it. Is what we are able to observe. It's unclear who's speaking, but it might be a chorus of the long-time affiliated souls. Maybe the guardian angel community, and they're talking about how in their experience that resources poison good people, and
That's
giving good
right.
people money is the fastest way to destroy those good people.
That's
and
what they're talking
they become
about.
monsters. And now how does one get the job done when you can't give resources to the good people? So all the resources are in the wrong hands, and somebody else is saying, and it might be Saul,
Yeah.
is saying with a tone of, I've said this so many times, I've lost count, that the resources need to be allocated equally, and we cannot centralize the resources, that it unfortunately doesn't work, and as wonderful as it would be if it did work, it doesn't, and all the experimentation is pretty consistent. We would say we agree with
Yeah,
that,
I really do.
based on our observations.
That's right.
Unclear who's speaking, but it's long time souls,
That's right.
very long time, decades long affiliated
right.
effort for him as message. Can we try again with the question? I don't think so. These people don't want to hear
They
the
don't
question.
want this.
All right. And now the microphone is switching, and it's kind of
feel
like
that.
when one of the guardian angels steps forward to explain to humanity what's going on, and saying, so now children, what we see is this is still actively a time of transition, and some might say turmoil, and that these times are never comfortable, but they don't last long. And to remember that this too shall pass, and in a week or maybe 10 days, it'll feel more stable, and we can try again. And somebody else is saying, somebody else in that same level of higher powers who are attempting to gather a team of angels and godly presences who will accept responsibility for planet Earth.
Yes.
Somebody else is saying that it's important to ask these questions during the transitional time, or you will end up with a team that you aren't happy with.
That's true.
It is unsatisfactory, and we can follow that. So let's send up the questions without attachment to the answers, and we'll try again. That one about the best possible outcome. Give it a go.
Yeah, given the realities that exist currently, what is the best possible outcome for 1 year?
For 1 year. It's just so bad. It feels really bad. They have something in place, and it is a plan that still has kind of like leaps of faith.
I feel the leaps,
and
big leaps.
Somebody else is saying it's kind of like compressing out the air and get to a plan that is, they're saying, at least contiguous, meaning no leaps of faith.
Yes.
And somebody else is saying simply contiguous is inadequate because that assumes that everybody will do what they're assigned to do, and our research shows that that is extremely unlikely, and you actually need about 100 to 1,000 levels of backup.
That's right.
In your plan. And somebody else says, well, just what happens if you compress to 1,000 levels of backup? And they're using kind of as the standard, the old standards of backup that used to exist.
Yes, that's
the
right.
age-old standards of backup. I like that phrase.
I like that so much.
So it's just, we can do it with our hands. We can help because we can feel the age-old standards of backup and kind of like the solidity of all those backup plans.
Yup.
And to just, without paying attention to details, just compress this plan to the solidity. I think we can project for about a half a minute. That's about how far we can project. After that, all bets are off. Somebody is saying it isn't less than a minute in the traditional sense. It's actually negative time. It's that
I hear you.
It's actually, it doesn't stop when you get to the current time. It actually goes back a little, and whatever that might mean, and some of what you think happened isn't what really happened. And so
That's
even with the
true.
backup, we have to go back in time, so we can project for -3 days or something like that. It's like what we thought happened 3 days ago. Now with some hindsight, we can see that isn't actually what happened.
That's true.
So somebody else is saying, and it feels like somebody who said the same thing over and over and over and over, it says we need a divine miracle. And in order to inspire a divine miracle, we need to change. And we need to get going in the changing process. We need to stop delaying changing. Might be Saul.
It might be so.
And get going with the changing. We need to change. Our host lives children, in which case we need to change a lot of things. Or are they responsible parties with standing under divine law, in which we need to change a lot of things? Either way, we need to change a lot of things. Can we please change something, please?
Wow, negative time.
Fascinating.
That's so cool.
That they can't project at all. Until they change. Like, we need a divine miracle. It's like, there was something else they were doing that was clear like that. It's like, well, there you have it. That's very clear. We've got to have a divine miracle. Can we please stop bickering and arguing and become less unpleasant to work with, all of us?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right.